being there in person. Some travel mishaps and other things kind of prevented me from being there today. I really didn't want to be there. I look forward to meeting so many new members as well as saying hello again to members that I've met in the past. I've been to several Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania conventions. I hope everyone's having a great time. And again, I apologize for not being there in person. Now, the good news is if you're one of the folks who's been selected to be a delegate to our national convention, I'll get the ability to say hello to you there. And I will make sure to visit the Pennsylvania delegation to see everybody in person. And again, I wish I could be there, but things were preventing that. But on to the message of the day, the message of liberty. That is the message that each and every libertarian seeks to spread as a candidate, as an activist, as a party member, as a neighbor, as a family member, as a friend. The message of liberty is paramount, especially in today's political climate. We are used to seeing big government run amok. Libertarians have been sounding the alarm on so many of the issues that are really coming to the forefront of today's politics. And we've been sounding those alarms for a long time. And it seems like the American public is starting to get in line with many of the messages that libertarians have been preaching for a long time. That's why it's important for us to remain bold and principled as we move forward in the political process. It's also why it's important for us to maintain ourselves as a distinguished and distinct political party. We cannot be the junior league for Democrats or Republicans. We have to be stalwart, principled voices who are fighting for the issues that so many Americans care about. Right now, across America, we're seeing masked federal police forces invading the privacy of citizens and non-citizens alike, detaining people without due process, spitting in the face of the idea of rule of law, and creating a truly lawless government agency that is hell-bent on, passing deportation numbers that were given to them by Stephen Miller, instead of respecting the rule of law. And wherever you fall on the immigration debate, we should also be insisting that our police, federal, state, local, be held to the rule of law, be held to providing due process and respecting the constitutional process. Because when we don't do that, what we're doing is we're giving monopoly of violence to an even more lawless law than the government already is. And so we need to be standing firm in our convictions. Right now, overseas, bombs are being dropped in Iran, and those bombs are paid for by the taxes that are extracted out of your labor. Taxes that are stolen are now being used as cannon fodder, blood, bombs that are creating blood and death, all across Iran right now. You don't have to love the Iranian regime to see that this is very wrong. We have seen the United States go into these quagmire Middle East civil wars my entire adult life. It's why I got started in politics to begin with, was to speak out against these kinds of wars. And unlike those who sit in the Trump administration, who used to loudly be singing the anti-war message, talking to you, J.D. Vance and Tulsi Gabbard, libertarians are going to remain firm, principled that we oppose these wars of aggression, these regime change wars that will only destabilize the region and ultimately make the world less safe for Americans both at home and abroad. It's why I am staying committed to helping the Libertarian Party grow. And it's why I hope each and every one of you in this room, whether you've been a party member for a long time, or whether this is your first convention, can feel inspired to get out there and organize the Libertarian Party so that we can grow in a positive manner. Wherever you came to the Libertarian Party from, it's really important that we fight for our principles, that we fight for the idea that each and every person, no matter where they came from, no matter their background, has inherent liberty, inherent rights that no government should trample upon. And no matter who sits in the White House or leadership in Congress, whatever party it is, we need to be those who speak truth to power, who don't fade into the background, who don't shy away from it, and who don't make deals with the devil. It's not our job to elect Republicans or Democrats. It's our job to elect libertarians. It's our job to run libertarians at every level of the ballot, from the most local races all the way up, because it is our job to present an alternative to the two-party madness that we see in this country. We are about to see a Congress pass another $200 billion for the war in Iran. That's the vote that's coming up soon. And let me just tell you, we've spent $180 billion in Ukraine over years. This is just the beginning, especially if we create a ground force invasion, which, according to the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, is going to happen. We need to loudly be opposing this. We need to be in the streets and organized. And yes, that sometimes will have you rubbing elbows with people who you don't agree with on economics. You don't agree with on this, that, or the other. These kinds of issues are important for libertarians to be out and in the forefront, leading the charge. Why? Because people will see that energy and they will want to join it. We cannot be keyboard warriors in today's political climate. We have to be active participants. We have to be out there, spreading the message of liberty and spreading the message that each and every person deserves that inherent liberty, regardless of where they come from, how they live. As long as they're living in peace, there should be no reason for government to be invading their lives. That's the message I'm going to keep putting forward as a candidate for governor in Georgia. And I know you have many great candidates in the state of Pennsylvania, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, rather, leading the charge. That being said, again, I'm so sorry that I could not be there today. But I want to talk about how we can unite our party. I think we can unite our party by recommitting ourselves to the idea that we're going to run libertarian candidates. That it's not our job to spoil Republican primaries or run and support Republican candidates. We need to support our libertarian candidates. And I can say this with real experience. I know what it's like to run a campaign with the full backing and support of your party. I did so in 2022 when I ran for the United States Senate. And when I did that, I forced a runoff in the most expensive U.S. Senate race in history, created national attention for the Libertarian Party. I also know what it's like to run with major division and strife within the Libertarian Party, where members are, divided. That was me in 2024 as our candidate for president. I ran a good campaign. Did I run a perfect campaign? No, and no one does. But I ran a campaign I can be proud of. And unfortunately, we had a lot of division in our party. I think that cost us some votes. I want to make sure that our campaigns going forward are a united Libertarian Party. So I hope to see each and every one of you in Grand Rapids for our national convention. And I hope you can join me in spreading that message, one that seeks to refocus our party on its principles, on the message that we are here to run in opposition of the Democrat and Republican parties, who right now seats of power, state houses across the country, and in Washington, D.C., robbing us of our liberty. Join me in recommitting ourselves to the idea that the Libertarian Party is worth fighting for. The Libertarian Party is worth supporting and worth growing and telling our friends and neighbors about. I would also ask, and this is the part where everybody who's running for office does something. I'm not going to ask you right now to support my campaign for governor. I'm going to raise money throughout the cycle, and we've already raised some money to get our ballot petitioning started. But I am going to ask that you help me finish out the campaign from 2024 by donating. Go to votechaseoliver.com and donate. If you haven't already donated to the campaign and for president, the maximum amount, and please give what you can. It'll help us close out the final bit of campaign debt that we have. And in doing so, help me look forward to this campaign for governor. I do have to close this final chapter, though. So again, if you feel the need, support by going to votechaseoliver.com. And to the Libertarians of Pennsylvania, thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you virtually. And again, I wish I was there in person. And to those of you who will be in Grand Rapids, I'll see you soon. Peace, love, and liberty. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you very much to Mr. Chase Oliver, our previous candidate for U.S. President. Now we will proceed to the candidate. How about, is this better? Okay. Thank you very much to Chase Oliver, our 2024 presidential candidate. Now we're going to proceed to the candidate forum portion of this event. So I'd like to invite our candidates running for the LNC to come up to the stage and take a seat, please. Introduction time. We're doing, well, I mean, five minutes per person. Sure. Or maybe we should have someone out with the thing do it. All right. Okay, everyone. So thank you all for taking the time and energy to run for the LNC. It's a very large task to join a committee that is going to be trying to represent all libertarians in the United States. We wanted to give you some time to first introduce yourselves, what office you're running for. Yeah, you have 5 minutes. And after that, we're going to go and do audience Q&A. I have a mic. Is there a particular order in which you guys would prefer? Or if not, I'm just going to sort of pass the mic down the line. Here you go.
Hello. Okay, good. So now I understand why nobody sat in this chair. So thank you. I feel like Tony has home field advantage here. My name is Amanda Griffiths, and I am running for vice chair. I want to land acknowledgement for a second because I understand that Tony is also running for vice chair, and I understand he's got the home team advantage here. But it really is an honor to be sitting next to him, to be sitting on this stage with all of these candidates, and I'm really, really appreciative of the opportunity to talk with them. So I am the secretary of LP Wisconsin. I'm also the North American vice chair for the International Alliance. This keeps on cutting out. Okay, it's fine. Okay, yeah. North American Vice Chair for the International Alliance of Libertarian Parties, and I am a first mover with LP Alliance, which if people don't know is an inter-caucus coalition within the Libertarian Party. We like to say we're rebuilding the Libertarian Party, revolutionizing the liberty movement. And I use the word revolutionizing because it's important that we have a particular role to play in American politics. The system as it exists right now is so stacked against change that we need to change the system. And we can do that in a number of ways, but that's going to involve serious changes to our party and the way that we regard members' roles in particular. And so I consider myself a real member empowerment candidate on this stage. I want a high agency party. We are all in this together in this fight. And so much of what I'm focused on is creating ways to elevate members' opportunities for action and to celebrate members' success nationally and all around. So this is going to require hopefully some changes to the bylaws. Even if not, though, there are a lot of different ways that we can make sure that members get more involved. One of them is having opportunities for members to participate more directly in the LNC. So something that we've talked about when it comes to bylaw changes, we're trying to do open source bylaws. We're asking around people suggestions that they have, and we've got a good working draft. Member-based recall provisions, more direct democracy referendum style voting for after a seasoning period on the LNC. And we're also wanting to be able to see members engage with opportunities for action whether that's having an app, for instance, that allows members to see what's going on in their area, if that's a protest, if that's a demonstration, if that's something going on in town halls, if it's ballot access, canvassing. All of these things can be better organized and can be made more coherent when it comes to how national communicates. So this is a big issue for me. It also goes into something else that's very important, which is coalition building. As the Libertarian Party, we have an amazing opportunity to work with other minor parties and other movements on issues where we do align. That doesn't mean aligning with them on everything. What it means is taking discrete issues, discrete pain points, and going to them and working with them. We were talking about ballot access earlier. This is a huge place where we can talk with all minor parties about this, and we have strength in those numbers. So that's aligning where we do align and keeping ourselves principled all around, creating that principled distance when we need to as well. The final thing is, again, in my role as vice chair in the International Alliance of Libertarian Parties, care a lot about international solidarity. So this means doing more work and being more cued in to what's going on with libertarian counterparts around the globe. There are tons of countries, in fact, that have libertarian parties, some larger than ours, in fact, in terms of membership, that we don't talk to, we don't network with. Again, there is global strength and global numbers, the ability to magnify what is going on in other countries when it comes to libertarian issues and put our movement on the map in a much more radical way. So I thank you all for your time. I'm excited to take this party forward.
Since I've been a member of this party since before party in 2021, about a year before I moved here. My first convention was 2022 in Williamsport. Now, before that, you've heard my resume, and I'll go over it again just for clarity. I was both the chair and vice chair of the Libertarian Party of New York between 2018 and 2022. That's right. I left. I gave up that vice chair just to come here to Pennsylvania. That's how good you guys were at Liberty, guys. That's how good you were. During my tenure, I was also I led candidate vetting. I was in charge of communications and press releases. I was the communications chair for the LPNY. And one of the most impactful things that I did as chair of the LPNY was I filed a lawsuit against the state, talking about coalitions. It wasn't just us; it was the Libertarian Party and the Green Party joint filing a lawsuit that was largely authored by this guy right here, by the way. So he can keep me honest on this one. But we lost that suit, but that was our second suit that we had filed. The first suit we had filed before that and won. And unfortunately, New York decided to go in a different direction and we had to sue them again. Why am I going into all this detail here? Because I've been there. I've fought the state from a leadership position, from an executive position. Now, a vice chair position is different than a chair position. As I was starting to prepare for this, vice chair race, some of you know I ran for national chair in 2022, and I looked.
All right. Yep.
This thing's showing me full bar.
It's not the battery. It's not the
Okay. I was looking over some of my notes from when I ran for national chair, and there are some things that were different about the party in 2022, and from now. We were a party that was in serious conflict. No matter what side of the conflict you were on, I think we can all agree that Williamsport was a whole lot more contentious than Warminster. And anyone going to tell me I'm wrong on that one? No, I didn't think so. So we are a different party than we were 4 years ago. Do we agree on everything? No, we're libertarians. Of course, we're not going to agree on everything. And we're still the Big Tent party that we once were. We still have a lot of unity work to do, but we're already doing the work. It's the job of the vice chair to not necessarily drive the vision, but to operationally know how to get that vision from point A to point B, to know how to unify a separated, a bifurcated body, to resolve those conflicts. I've shown some experience in doing that. I've shown some experience in supporting candidates, in doing real messaging, and I would appreciate your support for vice chair. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I'm Jim Ostrowski. I drove in from Buffalo, New York today. It's always great to be in the state that started the Libertarian American Revolution. And also, you may not, unless you're from New York like us two, you may not realize that Pennsylvania is a significantly freer state than New York. I did a lot of policy analysis up in Buffalo, and I would say Pennsylvania has 60% of our cost of government. That is a lot of money that you people have to invest in the private sector, and you can kind of see it. Maybe if you live here, you don't notice as much, but when you come from New York to Ohio or Pennsylvania, similar states, you see the difference. I do have one complaint, which is telling a trial and appellate lawyer he has 5 minutes to talk is just ridiculous. But I'm going to talk fast. I do have my entire platform is online. It's 19 pages. I like to write. I've got 13 books on Amazon in addition to being a trial lawyer. And I just put all my stats on there, all my ideas, nothing to hide. Check it out. It's on Facebook and Twitter if I don't get into it. But I'm running to change the strategy of the party. We've been at 1% for 50 years. Is anybody happy with this? Politics is rigged. It's rigged. There is an alternative. It's called direct citizen action, such as voting with your feet, like Tony did. We should make that a part of our platform. I have 5 specific direct action programs. I'm not sure if I can remember them all, but a massive withdrawal from the government schools. Not just trying to reform the law. It's that we failed to do that in 50 years. Let's get people out of the schools in coalition with other organizations like Moms for Liberty or whatever. I used to say Turning Point, but that's turned a little weird. But voting with your health, you can spend all the time you want trying to reform the laws in Albany or Harrisburg, state capital. Sorry, I should know that. It's not going to work. But if we get every American walking 7,500 steps a day, we would cut our healthcare costs in half. And half of that is paid by the government. So ideas along those lines, I have a 2A program. One of the things I want to do is, and this is going to sound pie in the sky, it's not. We need a Libertarian Hall of Fame. And you know where it's going to be? It's going to be in Philadelphia, people. It's going to cost $25 million. And you might say, well, where are we going to get 25? That's too expensive. Ignorance is way more expensive than knowledge. Look at our $40 trillion debt in this country. The American people do not understand that this country was created by libertarianism. They think it's just a third party that was created in 1971. We go back to 1646 as a movement. It's just it was called other names, and that's part of our marketing problem that we have to fix. and a Libertarian Hall of Fame, brick and mortar, not some stupid website, a brick and mortar place you can walk into and see the great libertarian heroes. And frankly, I'm in a big hurry to do this because there's one person, my most famous client ever, that should be in the Libertarian Hall of Fame, and that's Dr. Ron Paul. I've got a load of other ideas. Let me just, I've been in the movement so long that a lot of the younger folks really don't know me, to be perfectly honest. I've been in the movement since '79. I was just listening to a tape by Bill Evers, if anybody knows Bill Evers, one of the old timers. And, the Circle Bastiat that sort of was the pre-libertarian movement of the 50s. I actually knew 5 of the 6 people in it. I learned economics from Murray Rothbard, and I mean across the table. Roy Childs, one of the founders of the movement, super close friend of mine. Ralph Raico was a very close friend of mine, both with Buffalo roots. Let me just close because I don't want to talk forever, which I could by occupation. I'm affiliated with the Mises Institute. I worked, but David Bose was my editor, and I worked for Ed Crane. I am so sick of libertarians fighting each other. And I'm not just pie in the sky. I'm not just a dreamer. I do want to unify the movement. And throughout my years and decades in the movement, I'll be done in a second, I have worked with everybody. I am a team player, and I will unify this movement. If we use direct action, such as getting our kids out of the schools, we can all agree on that. What we fight about is policy and politics. You can't fight about direct action. There's no counter argument to it. So I'm going to leave it at that and check out my 19-page memo on social media. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Brittany. I am running for LNC at large. A little bit about me. I joined the party in 2022, and I have pretty much been involved at all levels, from county to state to national, on multiple committees. Helped out with credentialing at national last time around, which I am not doing this time. But I am on a platform, so I am helping out again. The reason why I chose to run for at large is I wanted to bring some level of, with just seeing how everything was going the last few years, I wanted to bring a little bit of professionalism, a little bit more maturity to how some of the things are going. And to do that, I like the philosophy of lead by example. And I feel that with my history of everything I've been involved in, coming from nursing as well and stuff, there's ways to say things and get your point across, but be professional and mature about it. And I really wanted to get involved as at large to just give a voice. And I'm very big on, if you want to have a strong national representation, you need to have strong state level representations, and to have strong state level representations, you need to have strong counties. So by the bottom up philosophy, I think that is something we need, and I want to push for that. Also, I'm also involved with Ladies of Liberty Alliance, which is LOLA, is an international organization, and that really has kind of broadened my horizons and opened my perspective on a lot of different topics and different perspectives and voices that I get to talk to and interact with all the time. I also am the founder of the Medical Freedom Caucus. Again, coming and being a nurse, I feel that being able to make the decision between you and your doctor, and not having anyone else weigh in on that is something very important. And not having mandates and different things along those lines being forced upon you is something that I really think as libertarians we get behind, and thus why I developed the caucus. But I didn't want to go for anything super crazy because I do have children and I do have family and stuff, so I don't want to be too bogged down. But I think at large is something that's I can commit to and give my full attention to, and help from that perspective.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much to all the candidates. We are going to dedicate half an hour to questions. Keep in mind, the time will not be extended. We are not on the convention floor right now. Due to the microphone issues, I'm just going to ask that you raise your hand. I'll call on you, and then you can shout it out from your seat. As well, I'll ask that if you have a question limited to a specific person or specific race, please state that in your question. As well, I'd ask the candidates, I don't want to be super formal with timing everyone's response, so I just ask you to be respectful of each other's time. Okay, who has questions? Candidates. Mr. Thomas, I saw your hand first. Okay, I will restate all the questions. In that case, I'll take them. All right, who has a question? Yes. A lot of people are black pills from politics in general, but libertarian activism. It's something people are having some hope in it, but maybe impact that outside of the party. What are the candidates that you do for LNC vice chair and chair? And get those people actually start being involved in politics. How do we convert activists into people that are involved in politics? The question for those online was, how are you going to convert non-party affiliated activists into the party and challenge their activism there?
Thanks for that question, Phil. So one thing that we need to be doing is not going in and beginning with a treatise on Bastiat. And I write a ton. So this is hurtful to me to say, but we don't go in with treatises. We don't go in with taxation as theft. What you need to do, what we all need to do, is find people and connect with them on specific materially salient issues that are impacting them right now. So you talk to your Uber driver and you talk about various bills that were passed in California where I used to live and all around that try and make gig economy employees 9-to-5 employees. There was huge pushback from that from the gig economy community. Things like that. You talk to parents about what's going on in the public schools. You talk with people about medical freedom. All of this, it is a specific instance, something that is very important to them, and that's how you connect with them. So when it comes to coalition building with people who aren't party affiliated but who are already activists or in the activist community, what we have the ability to do is go to places where a movement's already been built or there's already infrastructure around a particular cause, right? So there's organizing happening. When it comes to ICE and the raids that are going on, we take advantage of that. We go to places where they're doing mutual aid. We go to places where the direct action is already set up, and we build community and we build solidarity with the people where it matters. So that doesn't involve sacrificing our own principles. It involves bringing other people in to where our principles do align, and then from there, continuing that relationship.
That was an excellent question, so thank you, Phil. The short answer is meet people where they are. Whether you're meeting them at a pride festival and talking to them about LGBTQ rights, Or are you meeting them at Canifest? Or you're meeting them at a gun show? Or are you meeting them outside the Moshannon Valley Processing Center in central Pennsylvania, where a libertarian is actively being held right now? That's right. There's a libertarian being held in an ICE detention facility in central Pennsylvania right now. And we should be more outraged about this. We should be more outraged. I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent. By having these conversations where people are, you're going to have conversations with people who aren't libertarians. One time, relatively early on, I was a candidate for Congress back in 2016 up in Rochester, New York. And I had a booth set up at the Rochester Pride Festival. And one thing that I learned about the Rochester community, even having lived there for 20 years, I didn't know, was that we had a very large deaf community too. So I ended up having a good 20-minute long conversation about deaf rights and LGBTQ rights and where I stood on them with somebody who, at the end of the day, didn't agree with me. But the next year, when I was there for another candidate, she came back to the booth and she remembered me, and she had more conversations, and eventually we got her to be a libertarian. And she came like she was somebody who was coming from the far left to the Libertarian Party, from that authoritarian position up to seeing that liberty was really the answer. We've seen the same thing happen in the other direction, going to a gun show and talking to somebody about 2A rights, talking to somebody about having their gun rights taken away. I am sure Mr. Ostrowski is going to be talking about his cases against the SAFE Act in New York, and he should, because he should be proud of them. That's how we're winning people from the right, by meeting them where they are, with the issues that are important to them, at the places that are important to them. That's how we're going to win. That's how we're going to grow this party.
Thank you for those kind remarks. So one of the mottos or slogans of my campaign is take the red pill. The reason why, I've been in the movement for 46 years. People come in, they get energized. What they do doesn't work, and then they leave. Sometimes they come back. Sometimes they never come back, and then new people come in. The reason why people get burned out is we give them things to do that don't work. And excuse me, but the evidence shows conclusively, see my memo, that electoral politics does not work. The last election, correct me if I'm wrong, that caused a general increase in liberty among American citizens was when Jefferson got elected in 1800. So if we give people things that work, they will come in, they will stay. Direct action works, and let me just explain a little theory. Direct action is what you can do to move your life towards liberty, but also move society slightly closer to liberty, such as when you move down here from New York, you starved the political machine in New York of money. So you increased your liberty, but you also tended to increase the liberty of society, because the New York political machine has less money to use to rig elections against the people who still live there. So we give people things to do. The Walk for Liberty concept, 7,500 steps a day, pulling your kids out of government schools, voting with your feet. I've designed an app for that, and an app at the state level too. People will get excited about these things because they work, and we won't have to worry about retaining volunteers. We're going to make the Libertarian Party a player in American life. People are going to come to us asking to join. So that's my concept. I don't know if you were.
Mine's pretty simple. I would say finding their strengths and making them feel included and useful. A lot of people have a lot of different strengths and they don't know it. So finding out what they're good at and really putting them up and lifting them up into a position and having them help. And when they find somewhere that they feel like they're respected and treated well and are acknowledged, they'll want to stick around and join and stay and contribute, and everyone wins with that. They get a feeling that their stuff is useful, and the party gets the help that they need in the different areas.
Thank you all very much for your answers. Do we have additional questions from the audience? Mr. Heckman, I saw your hand first.
How do we make free market like economics marketable and cool again? Is the Libertarian Party at the national level fit to play a role in doing that? What are your thoughts on that?
The question is, in a climate where both the left and the right increasingly reject the free market, what can we do to make the free market seem cool? And how does that relate to the efforts of the party to make the free market seem cool? Mr. Ostrowski requested to go first.
Yeah, thank you for that. One of my 5 points in my direct action plan: vote with your mind. Start teaching economics, 1 hour program, economics in 5 lessons, in person, online, door to door, lit drop. It's done. I wrote it myself. It's based on Rothbard and Hazlitt. They're not teaching economics in government school, because the first thing that you would learn is that government schools should not exist because monopolies aren't very good for the consumer. So can the Libertarian Party teach economics? Well, we have to. I'm sorry. We have no choice. We need to teach economics. And I'm not against political action. But one of my proposals is our candidates should do direct action. So you can run for office, you can run for governor, and you can hold seminars and explain economics to people, because if 95% of the people don't understand Austrian economics, we're not going to get 95% of those votes. Thank you.
Honestly, some of it is just presenting it in a little bit a different way so that they might not really think of it as that, and kind of changing, like, it's basically saying, oh, that's not purple, it's lilac, and seeing how they kind of, because it's gotten such different connotation now that they just start shutting it out. So if you change how you phrase it and how you present it, even though the core concept's the same, you might be able to get them in and like, oh yeah, by the way, that is free market. Like, you didn't know it, did you? And just kind of spinning it from a different angle.
I guess I'm holding the microphone, so I guess. Oh, no, you first.
Fair. All right. So first of all, I do think that free markets are cool and popular, but people don't know it, right? So commerce, people like having a choice. People like being able to have agency. People like being able to be heard. They like being able to start a business, things like that. They like being able to keep what they earn. They don't like certain words. People really don't like the word capitalism, and I kind of get it because it means too many different things. So I don't use the word capitalism anymore unless I'm very specific about what I mean. I talk about free markets, I talk about commerce, and the party should be moving toward that as well. Jim made a comment about courses. One place where we, again, need to be maximizing member empowerment is when it comes to having a speakers bureau, having people who are maybe cool or resonate with a certain audience, getting out and talking about these issues, approaching it from an angle that's going to resonate with a particular audience. But what we can do as a party, because National does have a role to play here, is find issues that do have to do with free markets. And I go back to the gig economy and things like labor, because I've done a lot of writing on it and like publishing on it. you go to issues like, okay, what the heck is United Auto Workers doing representing public sector grad students? Like that doesn't make sense, right? People should be able to negotiate for themselves. So when you take a specific issue, you take a grievance point, and you align with a particular group, you can actually spin the issue without that group necessarily knowing. You can spin it to being one about free markets. And that's a way that we can win. That's a way that we can get people on board who otherwise might not be particularly aligned.
So one theme that I'm hearing my colleagues on this stage talk about is education. And I've taken some personal direct action on this myself. If you go to several little free libraries in central Pennsylvania or western New York, you're going to find a copy of Economics in One Lesson sitting in them because I put it there. Now, having said that, reading one economics book is not going to make you an expert on economics. We have a lot of smart we have experts in this party. I would not pretend to be one of them. Talking about free markets, however, is something I can very easily do. Helping to structure messaging, the party should be structuring messaging that makes those free markets look really cool. Hey, look at what you can do with your dollar in Pennsylvania as opposed to New York. Oh, California has gas prices at $8 a gallon? That's terrible. That is a very unlibertarian thing, and that is not cool. By highlighting these things and using our messaging, which is one of the most powerful tools the Libertarian Party has on a national level, and we are not utilizing it well enough, is exactly what we can do to make free market economics cool again.
Thank you all very much. I'm going to ask that we have about 12 minutes and 47 seconds left. So I'm going to ask if we can get our answers a little more concise. Now for the next audience question. Mr. Manady, you still have your question? The question was, what is your definition of marketing, and what do you think marketing should be doing for the Libertarian Party? We're going to start it. Brittany, do you mind starting since you went last a couple times?
So I would say that my definition of marketing is pretty much anything that gets your group's information and perspective out to the public. A big thing with what marketing can do, again, is spreading everything and really, again, education. I think marketing and education go hand in hand, and it's something we need to do, and it needs to be done tactfully, because even if it's not labeled as marketing, anyone that is speaking and saying something to anyone outside of our group as a representative of the Libertarians, you're marketing the Libertarian Party. So you need to basically have it that you can have your opinions and stuff, but understand that that person might not have had any other interaction with the Libertarians, and you could be their first point of contact, and you could make or break their decision on supporting, joining, understanding our perspective on things. And it's really something that's important that we need to work on and understand, that it's not just flyers and posters and graphics on social media.
That's an excellent question. I'm not sure if I can define marketing, but I'll tell you this. Liberty is the greatest idea in the history of the human race, and our marketing sucks. So I'm going to appoint, and this is in my 19-page platform, I'm going to appoint a marketing committee to completely rebrand and remarket this party. The Libertarian Hall of Fame is part of that. Almost everything good about modern politics in the US or this world was created by libertarians. I won't bore you with the list, but the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, and free trade, free movement of people, the natural right of free movement that's been referred to tonight. The American public doesn't know any of this, and they don't really even know what the word libertarian is because it was a neologism invented in 1971. So our marketing is terrible. What's our logo? What is the logo of the Libertarian Party? I have no idea, but whatever it is, it's not working. And this marketing committee we need to create a new logo. So I am obsessed with improving our marketing, sir.
I happen to like the chicken on a stick. So here's the thing. Marketing is the public is what we are saying, what we are communicating that defines the Libertarian Party. What does that mean? That means educating the public as to what the Libertarian Party is. That's not something that's just, oh, we're just going to make a couple of banners. Oh, we're going to have a couple stickers and slap them on poles. That could be part of it. There's certainly guerrilla marketing aspects. A good marketing campaign is multifaceted. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example of one that I led for a candidate in Western New York. Or I can't say I led it. I was part of it. I did a lot of his public relations. Dwayne Whitmer. We put together a number of press releases. And those press releases were about different issues that were happening. So we were being a little reactive to things that the county executive or his opponents were saying in the race. And through all those press releases and what we were building for him on social media, we built his brand. And now we were able to market this candidate libertarian, and now his voters knew what a libertarian was. We did the same thing for the Libertarian Party of New York. We put out a series of press releases. We put out video. We put out social media. We put out traditional press, and we stood in front of cameras ourselves and got in front of radio microphones ourselves and talked about the Libertarian Party. We educated. We did that targeted outreach to our community. We need the same thing on the national level. That certainly there are scale things, like you wouldn't necessarily put out a press release to every newspaper in the nation. But once again, we have strong social media. We have a YouTube channel. We have a strong marketing platform and a lot of smart marketing people in this party, and we need to be utilizing them better.
Yeah, I can't. Okay. Thank you. Marketing is both the art and the science of taking a concept, group of concepts, and creating a narrative around it in a way that, again, moves that narrative outward. So it's about communication. The role that our party has to play, I agree completely with Tony that there are a number of avenues through which marketing needs to take place. So again, in the first place, you can have speakers bureaus. You can have people who are subject matter experts. When it comes to utilizing technology, we need to get better people, or rather we need to get better resources for aggregating and analyzing data that tells us about what messages are working, what messages aren't working, and with which populations. You know, I'm a comms person. I've had way too much media training. I've been on various platforms talking and writing about various issues. So for me, communication is such a key part of what we do, but that's not always verbal. In fact, it rarely is. We're talking about press releases. Yes, that's very important. And we need to be able to have a team that just right away understands what the line is. We understand what our position is on something and can fire off a press release, but we also need to be making the news. We need to be making the headlines and not just reacting to them. That's a core component of marketing, and that's where organizing comes in. We need to have a self-understanding of who we are as libertarians, what the party is, and from there, we build outward. We have all of these channels of marketing, and we take advantage of them.
Thank you all very much for that answer. We have about 4.5 minutes left, so it's enough time for one more question, and hopefully it can be answered quickly. Mr. Kellick, I saw your hand come up. Who's your question directed to, you said? Oh, sorry. Thank you. The question for those online is, how can the LNC influence how we can stop foreign wars? Does anyone volunteer to go first?
Sure, I haven't gone first yet. What the heck? I love this question because in 2016, that was the first national convention that I had been involved with the party before that, but the first national convention I paid attention to was 2016. I was working for a candidate who was running for president back then. His name was Austin Peterson. Some of you may remember him. We all do things that we regret in our youth. But love Austin, don't love his direction right now. But there was one of the things that was going around there was an organization. I don't remember who the organization was, but they had a number of prominent libertarians walking around, getting their picture taken with a sign with the hashtag already against the next war. Yes, we should be reacting loudly and angrily to a current war in Iran, to what we did in Venezuela. But we should also be reacting to what we're going to do in Cuba, what we're going to do in Colombia, what we're going to do in Panama, what we're going to do in who the hell knows where we're going to do it. And we should be doing this loudly and often. One of the things that a vice chair can do and an LNC can do is direct that messaging. Now, a lot of that does come from the chair, but the whole LNC has influence, and we should be directing our messaging, especially now when we are involved in foreign wars, to be already against the next war and this one. Thank you.
This is an excellent question, and it's not in my 19-page memo, so I got to think fast. But I did write a book that Scott Horton might not remember, but he helped us with. And it's about Libya and Syria interventions. And one of the things I pointed out in that book, and then also one of my other books, war is the foreign policy of progressivism. It's just the foreign policy of progressivism, the ideology that took over the country from libertarianism in 1913. So I think we sort of need to explain that to people. And there's a I don't like cliches, but war is just another failed government program. Obviously, avoiding war is our number one libertarian issue, and I will definitely be focused on that as chair.
So libertarianism has an amazing message on war. Sometimes libertarians don't spread that message in the best way. There are a couple things that we do. There are a couple things that we do that make our messaging on war unattractive. Part of that is framing it as a completely isolationist thing. Our concern about invasion, our concern about treading into other people's lives and taking everything, including their lives, from them should be directed and should be messaged as being about them. It is about the people who get hurt, the individuals in other countries whose lives we co-opted. Similarly, so many times the narrative around US involvement acts as though other countries have no agency in anything they do. Everything is just a reaction to something that the US did. That doesn't make a good case for agency and individual liberty. So we need to begin treating other countries seriously as serious foreign actors with their own individual motives. And when we bring that attitude of respect toward the actions that other countries take, we will get more respect for our message. When we bring respect to the individuals who are being harmed by foreign invasions, we will get that respect from our message, or for our message. So it's very important that we rewire parts of the narrative. We go back to marketing. These are a couple things that we can do to make our message on war so much more powerful among so many disparate groups.
I think the biggest thing is, and I've said this probably a couple different times, my biggest thing would be just educating. And like Amanda has said, we don't want to push our opinion and stuff like that, but we want to bring everyone who has stakes and authority to make these decisions. We want to bring them around to our perspective. And it's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be next week. It's not going to be next year. Wish it would be, but it's not going to be. It's small steps, but you plant that earwig and it will grow, and they'll slowly get annoyed, but it'll make sense eventually.
Thank you so much to all our candidates for coming up today and answering the questions from the audience. Can we get a round of applause for our candidates? We need about 5 minutes to reset some of our AV equipment and adjust it for the governor's ball. But in 5 minutes, we will reconvene with the governor's ball programming. So please use the restroom, get desserts, and discuss amongst yourselves.